Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast. Time to hashtag everything with
Mariano
and Pauline.
Hashtag Pauliano. We talk about all the fun, crazy stories on social media, from Instagram to Facebook, Twitter to Tumblr, or probably even Friendster. Join us each week as we explore the quirky side of social media. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast.
It's simple, such a sad song. The one that we rely on to get us.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. I'm Mariano.
And I'm Pauline.
And we've got some interesting things to talk about. We've got some Olympic controversy going on.
All the Olympic fun.
I don't know. I think only one thing was like controversial. I have no problem with Michael Phelps's like stink face toward the other guy. He's, you know.
No, it wasn't like a problem. It was just more like funny.
Oh, okay.
Because, so Michael Phelps, of course, if you don't know, I don't know where you've been, but is the most decorated Olympian of all time.
Of any event, too, of any sport. Yeah.
And which is amazing. And he has, really dominated in his sport to where athletes, like all kinds of athletes, have to recognize his like athleticism and his just his abilities. Like he's pretty amazing. But most recently he was competing this past week in his events, and I believe it was before the 200 meter freestyle for the prelims, the prelim for that. And so so they always show Michael Phelps when he's about to race, just because like everybody's interested in him. People are watching like how he prepares. He does like that cupping method thing. So people are always, of course, just very interested in him. And especially like here in the United States, like we are always all cheering for him whenever he's racing, no matter what it is that he's doing. So it was right before his race was getting ready to start. And so he's kind of like sitting on a chair and he's in the corner, like kind of like in his zone, listening to music, doing his thing. His hoodie, like his hood is on his parka, like he's in his zone preparing. And then there's, and while he's doing this, of course, other swimmers are preparing.
Doing the same thing,
yeah, for themselves, stretching, whatever it is that swimmers do. And so drinking water, I don't know. And so another athlete who was going to be competing against him, who a lot of people were thinking were going to be his biggest competition, I believe his name was Lochte, was kind of like not necessarily trying to distract him, but just trying to annoy him and kind of break up his zone. So like he's stretching like really close to him, and he's kind of like dancing to like whatever music he's listening to, and just kind of like in Michael Phelps' space. And like everybody's kind of like spaced out, but he's just like too close, and just you can tell he's just trying to like
definitely
get into
especially considering I don't think he would even deny it if someone tried to approach him about it. But when you're on the deck of that giant pool, I know what you mean, how everybody's spaced out and everyone has their own little kind of room. Everyone has their own little chair,
right?
So I would think there's no way to cover up that
what you're trying,
you just so happen to be right in front of me,
right? And so, but it's funny because on Twitter there was just like a picture of Michael Phelps, and he has this like ugly scowl on his face. Like it's pretty bad. And so Twitter, at first, when I first saw this picture, it was before I saw the race and everything. So people on Twitter were like, what is Michael Phelps listening to? Like, why is he so angry? Like, like, what is he so mad about? Because in the shot, you don't see the other swimmers. You just see it's just focused on Phelps. He's the only person in the shot. So it's like, what is he listening to that's making him so upset? And then until you watch the race,
right,
and you see like, oh, it's because he's like probably annoyed as heck.
And he ends up winning the gold medal in it.
Yeah, and so in the finals, he, of course, wins the gold medal, and Lochte didn't even medal. So he did all of that distracting and all this, like, extra madness when he should have just been focusing on himself.
Yeah, he probably distracted himself.
Yeah, he's so worried about Michael Phelps, and it's like you probably just made Michael Phelps think to himself, like, I'm not only going to beat you, like, I'm going to, like, cream everyone because you're just annoying. Like, I just get away from me, like, type of thing. And it was kind of like one of those things, like, I was thinking, because when they're racing, Leclos is in the lane next to Michael Phelps. And there was another picture that surfaced because you can see Leclos. And I noticed this during the race. As they're racing, you know how like their heads bob out of the water and everything. There's pictures of Leclos like actually looking at Michael Phelps while they're racing. Yeah, the butterfly, that's what it was. And so a lot of people were like, you know, winners are focused on winning.
I saw that one.
Losers are focused on the winner. You know, and that's what, and while I was watching the race, I was talking to my mom and I was like, he probably could have medaled if he wasn't wasting so much time always glancing over, like just going for it and things like that. And then my mom was like, hey, like maybe, because he didn't even medal. You know?
But that's what separates the losers from the, you know.
Right. And I just loved it.
You know what Michael Phelps should have done?
I'm so glad that he, like, didn't medal.
After Michael Phelps won, he should have, like, gotten off the podium with the medal on his neck and danced right next to...
Oh, I know.
That would have been... He should have.
Right. And so I was just like, dude...
You should have been like, I liked your little dance, but you're supposed to wait till after you win.
Right. Like, you can't... Yeah. So it was pretty...
And then pushed him in the water and just walked away.
It was really exciting. And everything. Of course, Michael Phelps just kept stacking him up, you know. And so that was a lot of fun. And so now that, like, picture of Phelps is now, of course, a meme. And people are just, like, using it for everything. And I think it's a pretty ugly face. All you really have to type in is just, like, Michael Phelps face or like Michael Phelps scowl, and it's hilarious.
I want to see it, but I don't know. I have a feeling I'll like it.
No, yeah, it's funny.
I have a feeling I'll like it though, because it's like I think of it in terms of, you know, that guy probably could have won because he won the prelim.
Yeah, because Phelps placed second in his like heat for the prelims. Yeah, you know, and so
which means this guy could have won. And I mean, they're all humans, so this guy could have won.
Yeah, there's a possibility. And they were saying like that was his challenger, like his main challenger was him.
Right.
And so it just was like even worse because he didn't even medal, like not even bronze.
But that's why I like, because that's where the difference kind of shows. Mm-hmm. You know, they always talk about in sports where there's like, this is the thing that separates the good from the great. It's really not something you can like measure. Mm-hmm. It could be the tiniest little thing.
Right.
You know, it's just... I love it in boxing because in boxing it can be one tiny like mistake where it's like, look, all you did was drop your hand for 2 seconds and that cost you that changes everything.
Yeah, very true.
And that's what I mean, how I love it. Like, well, you know, you can try to dance and do whatever, but this is a swimming contest.
Yeah.
So, you know.
That's true. That's very true. And like, there's just actually been a lot of just talk and things with swimming and the Olympics, especially with Team United States. Ryan Lochte is now a mermaid. Because
he was always a mermaid. Have you seen his butterfly kick? I swam in high school, so I would watch his videos because his like form is straight beautiful.
Oh, I didn't know. Well, I mean, I wouldn't tell. I couldn't tell.
And like when he swims underwater, like the dolphin, you know, it's so just, I don't know. It's just so smooth. It's so weird. Like it's weird how fast it is. And I try it and I move like 4 feet.
Yeah, yeah. It is pretty amazing how fast that swimmers like.
Glide through water.
Yeah,
I know.
And how seamless that it is.
How easy almost it looks.
Mm-hmm. And so he actually debuted because like he's naturally like a brunette, like dark hair, brown hair. And so for the Olympics, he decided to bleach his hair platinum blonde, which is cool. I mean, it's a different look, whatever. Like that's fine. You can do whatever you want. It's just hair. But the thing is with like the chlorine in the water, and because he's literally always in the water.
You would think he would know that, being in the water all the time.
Well, you would think that the stylist would tell him, look, dude, I'll do this for you, but you know, you're going to be like, you're going to Rio to be in the pool.
Maybe
and
this
is what happens. That's what I'm hoping, is that he kind of knew, but there's a lot of pictures of him now because slowly but surely his hair has been turning green, and it's not like a tinge of green. Like it's green, like no doubt about it that his hair is green right now.
Maybe he got angry.
And so I mean, but it's kind of cool. It's whatever, you know, because now at this point, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Who
cares?
If you're Ryan Lochte, cool. Like you can have green hair. You've earned it.
Yeah, it's fine. And there's been also pictures on Twitter with the diving pool in Rio turning green.
Oh, yeah.
And also, so that was green. And of course, swimmers were like kind of concerned about that.
Well, I've heard all kinds of problems with Rio. Like China came out, in fact, and made like an official statement that like Rio is the worst Olympics ever.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's terrible, but it's true. They were sending pictures of like you know those like ceiling tiles, and some were crumbling and falling. Some had already fallen.
Oh.
In fact, the men's basketball team for USA, they're not even in the facilities.
Yeah, the men's and women's teams are they're staying like on a cruise ship.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, which is not like uncommon. Like I believe our national basketball teams, they typically don't stay in the Olympic Village no matter what, no matter where they are. And the pool turned green, and then slowly the water polo pool right next to it started getting a little tinge to it as well. But then they of course, like they have to test all the water, and they were saying that the pH levels are fine, but that there was just like one type of chemical that keeps it clear that was like running low and things like that. But of course, all the swimmers are like, looks, and it wasn't supposed to be harmful or anything. So now it's starting to, clear up and get like a little bit better. But it's just one of those things that it didn't look good. And so Twitter, a lot of reporters that were there were taking pictures and posting it on Twitter. So of course, like they ran with it because it's pretty bad. It looks really bad. It looks like algae on top. It's kind of nasty. So
like that,
there's just been a lot with
what's
swimming
that green
in general.
Kool-Aid flavor? That one's gross.
Ew. I was thinking of green Gatorade. That's funny that you
one's
say
gross
Kool-Aid.
too.
I know, just green anything.
Green everything.
Yeah. It's just not, doesn't taste good, doesn't look good. It's just,
What was that other story that we had? We have to take a quick break, but let's see what's coming up.
Oh, yeah. There's been, with the Olympics as well, like Gabby Douglas, there's been some things with that, and just gymnastics in general have been pretty cool as well. And so there's a few things that we can talk about. Like the Olympics has just been a lot of fun, and I think just kind of like hilarious. So
Perfect. We'll jump into those right after this break.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. I'm Mariano.
And I'm Pauline.
And we were just getting into some other topics here regarding the Olympics. What was that?
Yeah, and so, okay, so I just forgot what I was going to say. But I was going to say another thing that I was going to mention was because you brought up right before the break how things have kind of just not been going right as far as like the Olympic Village.
Oh, in Rio?
In Rio, yeah, and things like that. And it's funny-ish because since athletes, like a lot of these athletes have Twitter accounts and things like that, a lot of these Olympians. So like we get to see like from their point of view and like see that. And like Andrew Bogut, he recently was just like people, he plays in the NBA and he was on the Warriors team during the finals this past season and things like that. But he's right now playing for his home country of Australia. And like, there's a picture of him like fixing one of the shower curtains because like the shower curtain's broken and like all of that. So there has been quite a few, and it's kind of funny. It kind of sucks for them because like they shouldn't really have to worry about that. But then it's kind of funny because also we get to see it and like not just hear about it. And, there was also another picture that came out that, this is kind of like in regards to swim. So the swimming in the Olympics. I don't know if you saw this picture, but I thought it was funny. There's a picture of a girl and she's a lifeguard for the Olympic swimming, like the swimming events. And a lot of people like in the picture, she's like sitting and like her, like she's like leaning on her, like resting her head in her hand. Like, and you could tell that she's clearly like bored, you know, with what's going on. And people were just saying like, that's kind of like the most like not only just like the most boring job, but the most like almost like unnecessary
I know.
job.
I was just thinking that. I was like, so Olympic swimmers need a
Right.
lifeguard?
And I guess like it's part of like it's probably like part of policy that there has to be a lifeguard on duty
Right.
near a pool. Like I get it.
So that they can be taught how to swim.
But it's like at the same time, if somebody perhaps like a spectator somehow, some way fell
gotcha.
into
Okay.
the pool, I get it. However,
You don't think the swimmers would get-
everyone else near that pool, I mean, they're not certified lifeguards. Well, maybe some are.
Well, but not to mention
But
the
it's like-
Olympians inside of the pool.
Yes, I'm like, even like their trainers and stuff, like there's a plethora of people that could save that person and just throw them out of the pool if they needed to.
Yeah.
I don't know if an Olympian would, especially before like a race, just because like you have to like be careful because you don't want to get hurt trying to save somebody else and then ruin your chance of competing or anything like that. But I mean, like the coaches, the trainers, like I feel like everyone else around the pool area. So it's kind of funny because she's just like around, and it was even funny because like even my mom saw that picture and I was like, do you have Twitter, Mom?
What
like,
a great job to have.
Right. But then at the same time, you're just like sitting there chilling and everything. But I thought that was pretty funny. And to wrap up like swim, there was also last night, I believe. So, and it's kind of weird because like the time zones are different. So I don't know. I saw it last night, but we're here in California. So it's a little bit different as far as the timing and like when they broadcast these things. But
It'll probably happen in reality like sometime tomorrow.
yeah, it was, well, it probably was like way like 30, like a long time ago, but a few hours ago. But so Simone Manuel, is a swimmer as well, and she did the 100-meter free, and she won gold in that for the United States, which is of course great for us because we're just racking up the gold. And she also has a silver medal in her racing this Olympics. But the really cool thing about Simone is that she's the first African American woman to, like, in Olympic history, so not just for the United States, but just like in general, the first one to medal, let alone get a gold medal in a individual.
Like not a team event.
Right. And so I was like, that's really cool. It's kind of like, because during the Olympics, I think it's the only time, well, for me personally, that I care about like all of these sports. I'm usually like, just like basketball, football.
I know what you mean, because I'll end up watching sports that I don't really watch either.
Like,
just because it's
fencing,
the U.S.
Like,
yeah.
and I'm like, yes, and things like that.
Just to be like, suck it, Russia.
Right,
like,
right. And so it was just really cool because it's really nice to see, especially like your countrymen and like your Olympians set other kinds of records as well as they're doing things like world records as they're competing and just trying their best. And so that was really cool to see her do that. And then speaking of Simone's, I think I'm going to name my kid either like my daughter's Simone and my son's Michael, because all Michaels are really good in their like respective sports. All Michaels are, if you think about it. Jordan, Tyson, Phelps, Jackson, even like all Michaels are good.
A lot of Michaels are good, but I knew a bunch of Michaels that were just kind of like potheads.
Shut up, Mariano.
They were pretty cool guys, if that helps.
No, well, I'm just going to go with like Phelps, Tyson, Jordan, Jackson. I'm going to go with those guys. So Simone is another name that's
Has there ever been a Kobe that wasn't great?
I don't even know any other Kobe except for Kobe.
So that's 100% of Kobe. That's champions. I think I'm
You
going to
have
go with
100%
Kobe.
chance.
Exactly.
So, but Simone Biles, she was, she had a lot of talk and like media surrounding her even before the Olympics started because
stalking Zac Efron.
Yeah. Oh, has she been stalking Zac Efron?
I don't know about stalking, but she ordered a life-sized like cutout of him, and then when
That's
she got it, she
hilarious.
posted it all over Twitter and like tagged him in it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hey, Zach was on Tinder. So, I mean, he's looking for love. Who
yeah.
knows? Social media to the rescue.
Well, from what I read, it seems like they were getting a little familiar.
Simone. See, when you start winning these gold medals, you start feeling yourself. You're like, I can get anybody.
Well, I think...
Hey, girl. Go, girl. Shooting her shot.
I know,
Swish.
and it's working.
Hey.
Just get a life-size cutout.
She's doing well in all types of sports, Twitter DMs, the beam. Like she's pretty cool. So
we should come up with a term for Twitter,
like a gymnastics.
I mean,
term.
like a term for Tindering, like a
Tindering.
as if it's a sport.
Right, Tindering. And so she's been doing really well. Like she, of course, as much expected, and a lot of people were saying, like even because before during like qualifiers and things like that, she I think there was like 2 mistakes that she made and things like that, but she still beat everyone by a significant amount. No, I think it was in Worlds. It was in Worlds. And people were saying that even in the Olympics, like she doesn't even have to necessarily be perfect to like her standard, because even if she just completes the routine,
her imperfect to someone else's perfect
is gonna like be a lot better than everybody else.
That's kind of disheartening for everyone else.
I know. That's a lot of pressure
like,
too.
look, guys, as long as she doesn't mess up all that bad,
we could perhaps.
Yeah, you're probably gonna lose.
Yeah, and so she's been doing really well, and I guess on and off the mat, she's been doing great. But there was a lot of other controversy because Gabby Douglas last year, and even last Olympics, and even this Olympics, Gabby Douglas has been doing very well in competition. But in gymnastics, there is a rule that it's 2 per country. And so in gymnastics for the Olympics, only 2 of, like when they get to like the finals and things like that, only 2 of your athletes,
your teammates
can
represent.
Yeah. And so even though Gabby Douglas, she was number 3 as far as our rankings, like between our like Team USA. Yeah. She was beating a lot of other international gymnasts, but with her score.
Who was number 2?
But number 2 is another really good athlete. Her name is slipping me right now. I'm gonna look it up. So
why didn't she get the spot?
Because she's just. Oh, why didn't Gabby get the spot?
No, why didn't number 2 get the spot? Why did Gabby number 3
No, Gabby didn't get the spot.
Oh.
And so that's why a lot of people were like, hey, that's kind of like sucky that Gabby, her prelim score was so much better than a lot of international competitors, but because she's number 3 on our list as far as her points, she didn't get to compete in the finals.
That makes sense to me.
It does, but then it's like people were saying, well, you can't have, I think what they're trying to avoid is having all the U.S. athletes competing for 1, 2, and 3.
Then get better athletes.
It's like, right? It's like, this is not Parks and Rec. We don't need to care about everybody's feelings.
Exactly.
Like, this is professionals. This is the Olympics. If your score is not that good and all of my team just happens to be crushing everybody, then what do you want me to do? Like, step it up.
Well, I know what you want me to do, but I'm not going to do it. That's
And so Gabby, for that particular event, wasn't able to compete, even though she qualified technically because of that rule.
The world is becoming so crazy because it's in it's competition.
Yeah, and so it's like, so that was kind of like whack, I think, but it's still good for us because like our 2 girls did very well, of course, but it's just, I was just thinking to myself, like, this is not Parks and Rec. Like, this is not everybody gets hey, you participated in medal. Like, it's either you qualify and you do well or you don't. So Twitter was kind of like angry about that too, because that rule, I'm pretty sure, I'm not quite sure what other events that rule also pertains to, but it is in gymnastics that way. It's 2 per country maximum for the
That's
finals.
fine. That's not, the problem is just, why would anybody... If it's 2 per country, why isn't it like common sense that you would choose the best 2?
No, but you have to qualify. Like, like the preliminary rounds. And so like Gabby's prelim round points were higher than a lot of other people's, like other countries.
But you said according to our ranking, she was ranked number 3.
Yeah.
Was that number 3 amongst all the Americans or number?
Yeah, number 3 on the Americans, but higher than a lot of other people, like other countries,
but
number 1 and 2.
But that means there was a number 2 for the Americans. Why didn't that person get it?
No, she did. So like those first 2 did compete and went on to compete.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But it was just like kind of like Gabby outshowed other international competitors. But
but so did number 2, right?
No, yeah. So 1 and 2 is fine, but I'm just saying, like,
know that whole theory of like Gabby outshowed all these other people, but number 2 outshowed Gabby. So
and so what I'm saying is like if the Americans are the only people like scoring high points, then they should be allowed to go to the championship round and not be told, oh, even though your points are higher than, say, for instance, don't quote me on this because like I don't know what everybody else's point system were, but like let's just say like China and Russia
Totally gonna quote you on that.
Had 2 or 3 points less than you. We're gonna take them for the championship round and not you, even though you were like pretty much perfect just because of a 2 per country rule. And it's like, if your points are higher and your routine is much far superior than everybody else, then you should be able to compete for that championship round rather than just being told, oh, you did really well, but you can't compete for a medal only because number 1 and number 2 for your country, like we can't take number 3 and number 4. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, it's just one of those things like Gabby showed out, but then wasn't able to move on to the next round because of a rule that doesn't really pertain to any other sport. Like in swimming, if we had multiple competitors in the prelim round, like Phelps, Lochte, you and I, and we both just beat everybody else in the pool,
which we would,
then we would move on to the championship round, all 4 of us.
I've seen it, yeah. They have like 4
Phelps
USA lanes.
Yeah. They wouldn't say, oh, because Phelps and Lochte were number 2, and even though you guys qualified, you guys can't go. They would just say, all right, all 4 Americans, we have 4 chances to get.
Well, if we're in there, it'd just be unfair.
You know, so, but so we're going to wrap it up for this segment. We have to take a quick break. And when we come back, there's a little bit more that we have to discuss, and we're going to wrap up the episode. So keep it right here.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for listening to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast. I'm Mariano.
And I'm Pauline.
And we've just got a couple more topics for you, and then we'll wrap up here. Now, that one that we were just discussing, what was her name?
So it's Ginny Thrasher. She goes by Ginny. And she is an air rifle shooter, I guess is what I don't know what the correct term but
I feel
she competes in air rifle.
I feel like it's something along the lines of marksman.
There we go. Marksman. And so she actually won our first, like, Team USA's first gold in this Olympics, and which is an amazing thing just in itself because, you know, that's what we want all of our athletes to do is to win
It keeps
gold.
us competitive.
Yeah, and it's really cool that she was like the first one to do it for this this Olympics. And so she's been but then her medal, like, and winning that medal has kind of been like getting overshadowed lately, like in the news and things like that, because it's a shooting competition, and with like gun law controversies right now and things like that, it's kind of like getting overshadowed that she's won a gold medal, and it's being used to kind of like they're kind of like taking away from her and what she did, I feel like. And I feel and now she's also been like trying to justify like her sport and justify like her winning gold. And I think that it's kind of like not fair because like I get the society like viewpoint, like, you know,
I don't,
but it's not. I don't think that someone who trains for this and like it's their sport, and if they do everything correctly as far as according to our current gun laws that are in place to practice their sport and to do well in their sport, when we send them to an international competition, should have to be made feel to justify anything. Like, she won gold for us, and her particular sport happens to be marksmanship. And I just think that we should be excited for her and that she shouldn't feel like she has to justify winning gold in her sport.
No, I totally agree. But to me, that kind of thing is on her because it's like no one can make you feel like you need to justify. If you feel the need to justify, that's a different story. But I think people are way overgeneralizing. To me, it's like saying, everyone thinks like a bar fight is two idiots, knocking each other out. But everybody loves boxing. It's not the same thing. It's apples and oranges,
Right.
But just because there have been, these problems, and not even in America, it's all over the world,
Right.
People in France. I just heard of one. It's not a shooting, but this guy was stabbing people in a mall in France. Like, people are going insane. But that shouldn't... She's not doing anything wrong. She's shooting at targets,
Yeah, and this is like...
It's her
what
job.
We sent her to do.
Yeah, it's her profession.
And
It's what she trains to do.
Well. Yeah.
And she's doing the right thing. She's winning and making America,
Right.
She's setting us off kind of on the right foot. So she's not doing anything wrong. You know what I mean? Right. It's like saying, we can stab people and go to prison, or we can like slice oranges and mangoes and be totally fine, because it's not the same thing,
Yeah, exactly. And
right?
so I think that she has, I think it's great that she won.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Her and a few of her other teammates have kind of like discussed how for training for the Olympics, it's a little bit difficult depending on like the state laws that they have to abide by. But I mean, I think it's great that she won gold and that she did well in her sport, her respective sport. That's what we want them all to do. And it's a really huge honor no matter what sport you're participating in. And she's actually going to go, and I think this just kind of like adds to it because I think it makes her so much more cool. But she's a biomedical engineer. And she is going to go back to school in the fall, because she's, I think, going to be like a sophomore. I think she's only like 19. She's young. She goes to West Virginia. And I think that that's just like really cool, like that's what we should be talking about is how a young, girl who's not even finished with college, which I know a lot of gymnasts and other Olympians are young as well. Like you can be any age really to compete in the Olympics as long as you have the skill. But it's like we should be talking about that she's going to like a university. She's very intelligent, clearly, because she's what she's majoring in, like in engineering, is not easy to get in, and she's a female doing engineering, which is not as common. Like it's starting to be more common, but not really, and things like that. And it's like, and she's also a really good marksman, and she was able to compete at an international level and win gold for her country. Like that's what we should be talking about, that she kind of fits the bill when it comes to everything that we want, to be.
She's clearly
smart,
talented.
Yeah.
It's just sadly good news isn't like good news.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's kind of like, I hope it dies down and everything and it's over and done with by the time she goes to school, because like that's not,
my point was though that considering, these news stories are like, they need to say something. I understand, like to me it's such a non-issue that like I wouldn't even waste the,
No, right. But people are making
right.
it a big thing, and it's like,
but my point is
we
though,
should just
like
be congratulating her.
My point is that like people are making it a big thing and that's their problem and they shouldn't be. But from her perspective, she should feel no pressure to try to justify herself. She didn't do anything wrong. Like she has no reason to. Like if she wants to, then that's great. I mean, that's nice of her too, if anything. But she doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Like if she didn't, nothing's gonna happen. You know what I mean? I wouldn't. Like if I were her, I would. Whatever.
Right.
Think what you want. I shot a target. The kind that don't die when you shoot them because they're targets. Like it's people again are just overgeneralizing, and I understand too the sensitive nature of everything.
Right.
But you can't then take one thing and make it something else.
Yeah.
Like when we talked about a few segments ago, like a few weeks ago. I mean, is you can be upset about something that the police do, but you can't then go and like flip cars over because that's not.
And I think that if she would not have medaled, would we really be talking about this? You know what I'm saying? Because that sport is still an Olympic sport.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter.
And it's like
whether she medaled or not, I'm like it. My point is, regardless of how big a deal people want to make it, she shouldn't care.
No, yeah. So, Jenny, you go, girl.
Yeah.
You got this. Congratulations on your medal, because that's really cool. Like, not a lot of people can say that they have a medal and like their first time competing, winning gold. Like that's just amazing. And
But a lot of people can say they have way too much time on their hands to complain about
and
nothing.
speaking of other trivial controversies or things that people are trying to make controversies for no reason when it comes to the Olympics is my girl Gabby. So we were talking about Gabby just right before the break, and she's also a very well decorated athlete as far as in her respective sport. But there was a picture that has been going around on social media, and people are in an uproar, a fake uproar if you ask me.
That's what I said.
During the medal ceremony, she didn't have her hand over her heart during the Star Spangled Banner. And I get that.
It's just so weird to me.
But it's not like she's talking or walking around or being distracted. Like she's standing at attention. She's focused. You know, she's listening, perhaps even singing along in her head because I think a lot of people, you can't really help but to kind of sing along sometimes. And I'm sure, I can't imagine how it must feel to be an Olympian to place, like to medal and have your country song playing. Like I'm sure there's a lot that goes, you know, like that feeling. But it's not the Pledge of Allegiance. And she's not the only person that doesn't put their hand over their heart during the Star Spangled Banner. It's not necessarily, like, it's not illegal. Like, there's no law that says that we have to. Like, if it was, then I'd be like, hey, Gabby, come on, like, let's get it together type of thing. Like, we're representing and all that. But it's like Michael Phelps laughs during, you know, there's even been pictures like, you know, not all, like, for instance, during NBA games,
I've seen these guys stretch and do whatever.
Yeah,
else.
you know, they're kind of like,
to me, though,
they have their hands behind their back. Like, they're still, like, paying attention, but not everybody has their hands on their heart. It's nothing new.
But my thing is, even that's not really, like, a huge problem. Like, if you're getting ready to play an Olympic-level game of basketball, I don't care if you're shooting threes, like, to warm up before the game, you know?
No, but it's just like there's a time and place for everything, but at the same time, not putting your hand over your heart during the Star Spangled Banner is not that big of a deal. Like
that's what I was
I
trying
think
to say.
they just want to make something a big deal. And it's like, and then there's been other Olympic athletes, like tennis players and things like that have tweeted and come out and said, I don't put my hand over my heart. And nobody's ever said anything to me, or like, you know, like, so it's just stupid. Like, people are just trying so hard.
But that's what I was saying though, was that she shouldn't, like, maybe I can kind of understand where people could be upset. Like, I get it, you know. I've met people, like we were just talking about the armed forces a little while ago, and it's like, I understand some people that are like, look, it's about, like, it's not like it's just a song. It's like it's honor and all these things, and what it represents, and I get that. But this is my point. Like, it's, to me, it's like when a kid spills milk. Like, okay, sure, so yeah, they're not supposed to, but now that they did, is it that big a deal? Like, now that it's done, and she already didn't put her hand on her heart. Like, okay, so let's put her all over the news because it's that huge a deal,
right? And so she felt the need to kind of like justify, and she like apologized and was like,
did she say why she didn't, or she just didn't?
No, she was just like, you know, like, I was standing at attention, like, you know, and
didn't feel the need to, like,
well she was just saying, like, I didn't mean to be you know, offend anyone. I didn't mean to be disrespectful. Like, I was still, you know, focused on what was happening and being honored and taking it all in, you know, and things like that. But I apologize that some people found it offensive, but it's like, you don't have to apologize for that. That's not offensive. I wouldn't
exactly.
She's just standing there. And I, like, if you were to pan that entire U.S. team, like Olympic team, are all of them really having their hands on their heart? You know, like, they, like, some people just stand there, like, you know, with their hands behind your back, like, or like even in front, like holding your hands in front. It's just, I don't know. It was just another trivial controversy that people are trying to blow up. That's really nothing.
Yeah. I don't think she should have apologized.
Yeah.
Simply because there's a difference between doing something that's offensive,
right,
and then just doing something that people get offended by.
Yeah.
That wasn't an offensive
and
thing.
And getting it, yeah,
you know?
especially she's standing
right
there.
So it's like, how dare you stand at attention and listen?
Right.
You know, so again, I can understand some people's point, but
it's not like her back was to the flag. It's not like she was sitting down.
Well, to me, it's just one of those things where, like, if it was me and I didn't put my hand on my heart,
I wouldn't think anything of it.
Well,
I personally, like, during like basketball games, even when I used to play basketball, I would stand there.
Well, but my point is this: like, if somebody were to be like, "Hey, aren't you going to put your hand?" Like, I would do it,
right?
But if someone's going to be like, "How dare you?" Blah blah blah, I wouldn't have it. You know, you know what? Before you even continue, let me just go away.
But then, like, if it's the Pledge of Allegiance, I'll do it. But
no, I'll do it. Like, I wouldn't not do it. But my point is,
along.
My point is like, I wouldn't even allow it to build because it's not that big a deal.
Yeah, it's really not.
If somebody came to me and was like, "Hey, put your hand on your heart," I'd be like, "Okay, sure, whatever."
So that means we have to get mad at every single person that doesn't take like their hat off. You know, like guys, because like technically, like people say that shows more respect when you take your hat off. That there's multiple times and instances that anybody can think of when they're in a gymnasium or someplace that the Star Spangled Banner is being played, and people of all ages will keep their hats on.
It's amazing to me that adults wear hats inside of a gymnasium.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that too, like inside of a building. Yeah. True.
You know, hats are meant to block the sun. That doesn't exist inside a gym.
You know, and so it's just another thing. Like, Gabby, darn if you do, darn if you don't. Like, you know.
But that's why I wouldn't worry. You know, like that's why I wouldn't care. Like, you know what? Be angry if you want to. Like, how dare I disrespect the country while I compete for the country? You know,
she wasn't even. Yeah.
People are just.
This is another trivial thing that just to give.
It shouldn't matter. Like, it's one of those things where if we actually had real problems, we wouldn't have time for these non-problems.
Very true.
You know,
very true.
I always like tell people that, like, if we still had to like do things like hunt for food and make our houses, you know, like we wouldn't have time to be like, oh, Target, you know, I didn't like that shirt because it seems a little offensive. Like, really, you know, it just there are some, you know, first world problems that just should not exist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And Gabby's not a disrespectful person. Like, people are just trying to make her to be.
That's what I'm saying.
Like,
but,
yeah, you know, it's like
the
intent behind that was not disrespect. The intent was just, I'm standing.
Exactly. But that's why I don't think she should have apologized, because I'm never like, I don't believe in like enabling someone. And if it's like, if you just are like overly offended, you know, like if you take something that has nothing to do with being offensive and just try to make a problem out of it, and then the other person goes and apologizes to you, they're just kind of fueling the fire.
Yeah.
That's why I'd be like, look, I understand that you found that you think it's offensive. I think, like, my opinion is, the professional athlete on the world class level or not, my actions have nothing to do with you. So you feel however you want. I didn't do anything offensive. I stood there at attention. You know, I don't disrespect America. Obviously, I'm here doing this for free, by the way, for your entertainment. You know, you're welcome. So if you want to feel offended, then that's on you. I could really care less. I'm going to take my gold medal and not think about you. Bye.
I know.
You know? But I think that that's fair. Like, if an athlete put out that exact statement, I'd read it and be like, okay. I wouldn't be like, oh, how dare she?
Right.
You know?
Right.
But people just have too much time to worry about things that... Because technically, that may sound harsh, but it's not wrong.
Yeah.
You know? People are just... They overdo it. That's my problem. You know?
I agree. So I think in this particular case, too, she didn't really need to apologize.
Yeah.
Because it's like Donald Trump... Like, there's politicians...
And he's running for president.
Yeah, there's politicians that don't always put their hand over their heart during the Star Spangled Banner.
But you see, that's why I like Trump. Because he's not a super apologist.
It's not... It's just not that... It's not a deal at all. Not that big of a deal. It's not a deal.
But she made it a deal when she apologized.
Yeah, I understand why she felt the need to, but it's like at the same time, it's like I was kind of hoping that she wouldn't, only because like you didn't do anything wrong, Gabby.
Right.
You did not at all. You've been doing everything right and to the best of your ability. So, you know, that's all we can ask. But that's going to be it for this episode. And this episode of the Golden State Media Concepts social media news podcast. And you can always listen to this episode again. You can listen to any of our future and previous episodes on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. And you can always find us on the web, gmcpodcast.com, on Twitter at GSMC_SMedia. And that's going to be a wrap from us. I'm Pauline.
I'm Mariano.
And we'll talk to you guys later.